Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the New Hampshire Insurance Department's monthly webinar series. My name is DJ Betancourt, and I have the pleasure of serving as the Commissioner of the New Hampshire Insurance Department. Throughout the course of the presentation today, if you do have a question, please do use the chat box function, and one of the subject matter experts that we have discussing today's topic will address your question as it comes up. Our topic for this month is properly insuring your outdoor toys. You know, for a small state, we here in New Hampshire are incredibly lucky to have limitless opportunities for outdoor recreation, whether that be boating on our lakes or ATVing in our North Country or snowmobiling throughout the state. I know that is very, very popular during those winter months. But as you know, those items can be very, very expensive. And it can be very expensive when one of them breaks or is damaged or needs to have a part replaced. And so we wanted to focus a little bit this month on how you properly insure what we're calling those outdoor toys, those outdoor adult toys, if you will. And so we've got, as I said, a great team of subject matter experts this morning that can help discuss that. And so I will turn it over to our team who's kicking things off.
Good morning. Thank you, Commissioner. My name is Emily Doherty. I'm the product line attorney here at the Department for Property and Casualty. I'm here today with Luann King, who's the Supervisor of Property and Casualty Compliance. Ms. King is going to provide a general overview of insuring some of the toys that you may use for your outdoor recreation, such as ATVs and your boats. In general, you should know that the coverage for these types of toys can vary a lot, and what coverage may or may not be provided can vary a great deal. For this reason, to ensure that you have the coverage that is most appropriate for your situation, you should speak with an insurance producer or agent. Speaking with an insurance producer or agent is very important to ensure that you have the insurance policy that provides you with the liability, property, or other coverages that you need. You want to avoid the situation where you thought you had liability or property coverage or other coverage for your outdoor toy, but find yourself in a situation where you actually do not have the appropriate coverage lined up. I'm now going to turn things over to Ms. King, who's going to discuss some of the issues you may want to consider when you're purchasing insurance for your outdoor toys. Thank you, Lynn.
Thank you, Emily. My name is Luann King, and I am the supervisor for the Property and Casualty Compliance Unit here at the New Hampshire Insurance Department. And just most everyone either has a homeowner, renter's, condo policy. There's very limited coverage provided by any of those policies for, like, your watercraft, for example. If you look at your policy, and this is going to vary by policy, just like Emily said, you're going to have a limited amount of special limits of liability coverage for watercraft that'll cover your trailer, the watercraft, and the outboard motor. It could be as low as $2,000 that's built into your policy, but again, you need to read your specific policy. That's why it's really important to speak with your agent, because there are watercraft policies separate from your homeowner, renters, or condo policies that are going to provide you with a much broader, comprehensive package of coverages, not only for the watercraft itself, for damage to the watercraft, but also for your liability for anything that you are found liable for hurting another person or another person's property. So you always want to make sure that you're properly covered from both aspects, the property itself and your liability. So that's your watercraft in a nutshell. Going from there, your ATVs and side-by-sides and so forth, you're going to need a specialty policy for those. You're not going to have automatic coverage off of your auto policy, for example, for that. And it's as simple as making a phone call to your local independent agent and telling them what you have and how you're going to use it. Are you taking it off property, et cetera, like that? Because your homeowner policy will provide you with a little bit of coverage for your ATV liability if you use it on premise, for as long as you're not racing or anything like that. But as soon as if you're servicing your resident premise with it, there's coverage for that. As soon as you take it off property, though, you're going to need that separate policy to provide you with the appropriate coverages. Motorcycles do require their own policy. You're not going to have automatic coverage from your automobile policy. Your agent may or may not be able to put just an endorsement on that would cover the motorcycle from your auto policy, or it could be a standalone. And I know I'm saying there's a lot of different ways to do it, and that's because here at the insurance department, there isn't like one, everything doesn't just fit in one little box. There are different ways of properly insuring these items, and companies vary. And that's what the message that we want to send out to you is, if you are not satisfied with your coverages or your price or anything like that, by all means, you should shop it, and you should talk to your independent agent, talk to another independent agent. They might represent different companies or different carriers. And companies can vary based on what they provide for coverages. They're going to want to differentiate themselves from one another by offering maybe bells or whistles or extra bonus coverages and that type of thing. So definitely you should really take the time to read your policy, or ask your agent for assistance, or even contact the insurance department if you need assistance understanding your policy, and make sure that you have the proper coverages before you take them out and enjoy them. So we've talked a little bit about the watercraft, the side-by-sides, ATVs, motorcycles. So your campers, if it's a tow-behind camper, liability comes from whatever vehicle is doing the towing, and you're going to want to provide yourself with that property coverage, which again, your agent will be able to help you with that. A motorhome, the kind that you drive, that can be an endorsement off your auto policy. Your auto policy will provide you limited coverage, but not for like your living facilities and that type of thing, your awnings and all of that, the plumbing. So there's an endorsement that your agent can add for you onto your auto policy that's going to provide you with the living facilities and all of the things I mentioned. So that would take care of the campers. It's a little bit early, but we can talk about snowmobiles. Snowmobiles are on tracks. They're not going to be covered by your auto policy. Again, your agent will definitely write you a separate standalone snowmobile policy. And always tell them exactly, who is going to be operating your machineries, and where and how, what you're using them for. They'll never, I haven't seen a policy yet that's going to cover you for racing, so there's never going to be any coverage for that, but let them know what you're going to be using them for and who's going to be operating them to make sure that you are properly covered. At this time, I'd like to just introduce Robin, who's Robin Tierney, and she is online with us today.
I'm Robin Tierney. I'm the director of our consumer services unit here at the department. Our consumer services unit can assist you with answering questions regarding policies, and helping you obtain an independent agent location. If you have any questions, please give us a call at 1-800-852-3416.
Very good. So now we'd like to open it up to see if there's any specific questions that we can answer from anybody that's on the meeting with us today.
Please feel free to put any questions in the chat. We're more than happy to answer any of them you may have. We'll give it a minute to see if anyone has anything. What about e-bikes?
Okay, so the e-bikes, that's our emerging toy, if you want to call it that. And the coverage forms that we see coming in, they vary widely. There are carriers right now that are excluding all exposures to e-bikes. There are other carriers that are comfortable up to 28 miles per hour. So again, this is a really emerging topic. There isn't a lot of similarities between what we're seeing. There's a wide range of like never to here's all the coverages that you can ever hope for. That is definitely something that you'd need to speak with your independent agent. And again, if your independent agent does not represent carriers that provide the coverages that you're looking for, there's no harm in asking another agent that may represent different companies. Because again, this is an emerging topic, and there isn't a lot of uniformity right now in the insurance industry on that topic. That's an excellent question.
What impact does time of year have to do with certain devices, especially boats and motorcycles?
I am so glad you brought that up. There's a built-in layup period that you really need to be aware of for your seasonal toys. watercraft, motorcycles, snowmobiles, you really need to read your individual policies. I can tell you, generally speaking, you're getting your full coverages. By full coverages, I mean all of your property coverage that's going to provide coverage for the unit itself and all of your liability coverages as well. You might get a 12-month policy that shows you all of these coverages. If you read the policy itself, it'll say, I'm going to use motorcycle because it's the time of year, that there's a built-in layup period. Let's say from October 1st to April 1st, it'll automatically drop to comp only. You're only being charged for the understanding that that layup period is built into the policy. That means you didn't ask for it. They just know that you're not going to be typically in New Hampshire riding your motorcycle between November 1st and, say, April 1st. If you have that really warm Thanksgiving or that really early spring and you just absolutely need to take your motorcycle out, the first thing you need to do before you do that is contact your agent to bind coverage if it is outside of the layup period. A lot of agents have the ability to bind coverages. Not all of them do, but definitely check with your agent when you're purchasing the policy and ask this question: can you bind coverage for that late fall or that early spring ride when it's not in that coverage period? So the opposite applies to snowmobiles. Your layup period is going to be the summertime, where you're typically not operating your snowmobile, and the same applies to watercraft. You're not typically using your watercraft in the winter. That's a really good question.
I don't see any other questions at this point. Is there anything else you want to bring up before we close?
I think we covered snowmobiles, ATVs, side-by-side boats, campers, motorcycles, e-bikes. That's a really good question. We'd just like to reemphasize that your independent agent should be your first point of contact. Ask all of your questions. Make sure you understand your coverages thoroughly. The New Hampshire Insurance Department, we're always here to help you if you still have some questions to assist you understanding anything to do with your policy or coverages. Emily, do you have any final thoughts?
I 100% agree with what you just said, and definitely call if you have any questions, and always speak with your agent to talk about your coverages and look at your policies, because they do vary a great deal.
Thank you all for joining us for our webinar today. Please be sure to check out insurance.nh.gov, our brand new website that is now live, which has many resources, especially the contact information for our Consumer Services Division. Do not hesitate to reach out to them, 800-852-3416, and all their contact information is right on our homepage with much more to come. Please be sure to also sign up for our email list, which is at the bottom of our website, nice and convenient now. And we will be back again next month with another episode of our monthly webinar series. Thank you everyone for joining today.